I slowly ruined my ex-boyfriend's life. For context, I dated a narcissist for almost 10 months. He cheated on me the whole time, was emotionally abusive, and an alcoholic. After I helped him move all weekend, he decided to dump me on the drive to his new place to drop off the remainder of his things and threatened to leave me on the side of a highway. All of my things were at his place, and I didn't even have my car keys. We also had a business intertwined together, and I got screwed out of money as well. If you've ever been with a narcissist, there are signs that they suck from very early on. He's one of those guys that claims all of his exes are crazy and loves to be the victim in any situation. His ex-girlfriend of a couple of years lived in my same apartment complex, and we had a lot of mutual friends in common. So naturally, I reached out to her because I needed to know the truth about him to validate my experiences and make sure I had the strength to never go back, as I knew he'd come back around. It was worse than I thought. He cheated on her for 5 years, was physically and emotionally abusive, and screwed her out of close to $20,000 when she moved out. Whenever he was on vacation, she would have women from other states reaching out to her in her DMs saying that her boyfriend slept with their roommate. She is now one of my best friends. For legal reasons, we still had to be in communication, and I wanted to make sure that I got some of the money that I was owed. I played his game well enough to get some money. After I went, no contact, things were okay for a couple of months. But after his roommate's ex-girlfriend reached out to me and told me more of the awful things that he did behind my back and the awful things that he was saying about me, I decided I didn't want to keep quiet anymore. The only thing men like him care about is his reputation. So I made it my personal responsibility to ruin that. I put him on blast to a group of 50,000 women in this cities, letting them know the kind of man that he is. That he is abusive, a cheater, a manipulative piece of shit, and that he's had 4 STIs in less than 6 months. I have him blocked on every platform imaginable, and he has been threatening to sue me through mutual friends for defamation for months, lol. I had over 24 women reach out to me after that post letting me know that they too also terrible experiences with him. Many of them dated him the same time that I did. Every time I grab coffee or drinks with one of them, they post on their IG story and tag me in it to let him know that they know everything. After he freaks out and sends them some crazy message, they block him. I've been doing this for months, so that way he knows that his reputation is still being slandered by me, simply telling the truth. After I made that post, he decided to low-key stalk me. He appeared at the place that I worked out at the exact same times I'd be there, and even showed up at the guy I was dating apartment complex the same time we were there. So I told all my friends at the gym exactly what kind of man that he is and made the environment so uncomfortable for him that he no longer goes there. One of the girls that he dated when we were together is now a regular workout partner of mine. At least he has great taste in women. Another girl that I know came up to me crying at a bar because he essayed her. I now have an army of women to support her case to make sure that she wins. This man might have treated all of us horribly, but I have made amazing women friends in the process, and none of us have to go through what he did to us all alone. I ruined his reputation by telling the truth. Silence only protects men like him. So I decided to be as loud as possible about the kind of person that he is. Young hacker found his way into the wrong account and paid for it. This isn't anything spectacular, but I figure some will get a kick out of it. It has been long enough, I might be remembering certain things wrong, but the overall story is true. So this was back in 2002/2003-ish. I was somewhat addicted to the MMORPG RuneScape. I had a lot of friends, but there was one friend in particular that I played with a lot. We were both fairly invested in the game, and were in the top 2,000 on the leaderboards at the time. We both had well-developed accounts worth enough that I was offered $5,000 for my account once. I suspect it was a scam attempt, but it gives a vague idea of what our efforts might have been worth if we decided to sell our accounts. One morning I log into, I think it was MSN Messenger that we talked on most of the time, and my friend is very upset as his main account was hacked into. Weak password, keylogger. Someone he trusted betrayed him. I don't know. However it happened, he couldn't get in. Worse, the person who did it managed to get his contact information and was taunting him over chat, threatening him and trying to blackmail him. I was enraged, and after about 2 hours of convincing, he finally agreed to give me the contact info of this person so I could talk to them. I'm no tech genius, but I know a few tricks my friend didn't, and was too upset to learn at the time. I don't remember if it was from RuneScape or MSN, but I got the person's IP address, and the hoist tool to look up IP addresses was something I'd used a few times. So while I start laying into this person, I'm also looking them up. I know there's only so much information I can get, but it's worth a try. It's very quickly clear I'm speaking to a kid, maybe 10 at the very youngest, more likely 14 to 16 range. And he's so cocky it was unbelievable. Just before Hoy spits out his details, he says his dad is a cop and he's immune to anything. But then Hoyes gives me a police department in a town in California as the source of the address. I'd never seen so specific information before, but I wasn't about to question it. I'd expected to get the region and use that, but now I had a golden ticket to victory. It took all of 30 seconds before the kid was totally freaking out and begging me not to call his dad as I rattled out his hometown and where his dad worked. I couldn't just call his dad even knowing the police department location, no long distance on my phone at the time. But he didn't know that. An hour later, my friend had his account back, with bonus gifts. The kid was transferring items and gold around, and all my friend's gold was gone. But I guess my timing was awesome because there was 10x the value of the missing gold and items that he gained in exchange. My friend and I played for another year or two before moving on. Enjoy my handover documents. Recently resigned from a horrible job for a better paying one, and hopefully just overall better. When my line manager found out, she started freaking out a bit as I'm the only person in my office who does my job of marketing. She began asking me to get everything together for my handover so she can take on my responsibilities until they find someone to replace me. She began setting arbitrary deadlines like asking for stuff before the end of the working day, despite me having 4 weeks left. You get the point. After going through hell with this manager, I decided to see if she was really opening these things she insisted had to be done by end of day or not. So, I began sending her corrupted files that if you tried to open them, they wouldn't. I still did the things she asked me to do because I thought eventually she'd open them and have to ask me for the correct file, but my last day was on Friday and she opened nothing, so come Monday she's in for a rude awakening when she has no handover documents, no instructions, no calendar, no contacts, nothing. Oh well. TLDR, sent my line manager corrupted files which she never opened, so now she won't have any of my handover documents on Monday. Edit. Will update everyone when she opens it. I have friends still in the company who will update me. Petty Garden Revenge. So here's the backstory. Now this is Petty Revenge, so don't expect much, and I'm typing this on my phone, so I'm sorry about the format. A year and a half ago, my partner and I bought our first home. It is a lovely little 3-bed semi, attached with a front patio. There is no back garden as a house is attached at the back. Since moving in, it has been wonderful. All our neighbors are lovely and we have gotten on really well with them all. Well, we have tried to. Our neighbor next to us is slightly overbearing when it comes to what we do in our garden. There were 3 small trees on our side of the fence next to her side. When we moved in, the only big plants in this patio area were 3 trees, a row of conifers next to the road and gate to stop people looking in, and a wisteria and on the front of the house. The trees have overgrown and dangling in her garden. We had just moved in and the first thing she said to us was that the trees need sorting. Not a problem. Didn't want to upset anyone, so we cut them back and pulled all the branches off that dangled on her side. At this point, I got a bit snippy happy with the shears and cut the trees right down. Don't worry, they are fine and growing back upright and not out. One of them was next to the shed and was tiny and not doing well, so I decided to cut it down completely. It was about 4 foot tall, so didn't go over the fence. When she came back, she leaned over the fence whilst we was in our garden and proceeded to try and calmly tell us that she has lost privacy in her garden. I say calmly, she was almost spitting feathers through gritted teeth. We just said, oh, they will grow back, and that we needed to clear it out as the wisteria was attaching itself to the tree and going up into the roof tiles. Well, just don't cut it anymore. Okay, once again been in the house 3 months and didn't want to upset anyone. At this point, being a woman, I knew what this other woman was like. My partner, however, didn't get it. But this will change. At this time, she asked us what we are going to do with the shed. Now this garden shed is adorable. It had a little vine growing around the trim of the roof with flowers that dangled down all around it. So I wanted to paint it a sort of dark plum purple to make the white flowers pop even more. After I said this, she said, "Oh, you can't paint it that color. I will have to look at it. I think you should just leave it as it is or stain it the color it is." Now I was spitting feathers, but through a shut mouth. I couldn't believe it. The audacity of someone telling me I can't paint my shed a color I want in my garden because she would have to see it. The bit she would only see is the back of it as that sticks out above the fence, and we can't even get to it to paint. But again, my partner said he didn't want to upset the neighbors, so we left it alone. Fast forward to yesterday. We had friends over cooking pizzas in the garden and have a good catch-up. She has returned home and leaned over the fence again. She recently had some work done in her garden to drop the curb and give herself a little driveway. I said it looked really good and made small talk as she leaned over the fence. My partner says to her that the fence between us needs cleaning. It's gone green, and we wanted to paint it. Well, it is my fence, you know. This sudden change in the tone was mental. My friends are just sat there staring at her, and I'm feeling this sort of weird second-hand embarrassment for her. So my partner says that's fine, but can we clean our side of it with the Karcher? Her response, I use a paintbrush with bleach water to clean it, so that's how you can do it. My partner and her went back and forth about it in a calmish manner, but she was getting more irate, and after noticing the air was getting more stale, I said, okay, it's getting cold to our friends, let's go inside. Once we got inside, our friends instantly said, what a d***keckhead. After this, my partner said, what color did you want the shed again? So today we are going out to buy the most amazing shade of purple to paint the shed, and I will wait till she is in to do it with my AirPods on full so I can't hear her complaining. I know it isn't the best revenge, but we have lived here for 1.5 years, and now I finally get my pretty little shed smiling face with hearts. Edit/update, if anyone wants to see the shed now it's painted. I cannot add the photos to this as this sub doesn't allow it. Please feel free to message me. I will happily send them smiling face with hearts. She came home and saw it. Edit 2. Well, she lingered in her garden the entire time I was putting on the second coat. She waited until my partner went inside to tidy the kitchen to pounce on me. She came over and leaned over the fence again and asked me, did you want me to paint the back of the shed for you? I instantly think, oh, she means purple. She's trying to be nice and wants to help, so I said, oh, maybe, stupid of me, people. She then goes, I can paint it white as this, points at the shed color with her hands and shakes them whilst making a disgusted face. WTF, once again I've been made to feel like it in my own garden. So I tried to be nice and said no, it's not going white. And I quickly changed the subject to the fence. I asked her point blank, am I allowed to paint the fence? She said, you can paint it, but you cannot paint it black. So after all this, what is going to happen is this. We are borrowing a pallet truck from our friend up the road, and we'll be pulling the shed out and painting it all purple. This rudeness has finally gotten to me, and I cannot deal with it. I can't wait for the week-long summer trip with her. I have so many surprises in store. Just found out my MIL is gossiping about me. My husband and I have had a horrible year in our marriage. Apparently, my husband called his dad, asking for some advice. The dad shared those details with MIL, who is sharing them with the rest of the family. Specifically private information that is somewhat embarrassing to me. Most definitely humiliating. Husband definitely feels violated because it's ridiculous any that convo would be repeated to anyone other than maybe a pastor or counselor. I am now no contact, full block. But husband is one of 5, and we vacation with the whole family for a week every year. We look forward to seeing his siblings and our niece's nephews. Our kids love these vacations, and we will definitely still go for them. I cannot wait to get her back. I'm planning to get extra large granny panties, a Snickers bar, and make a little craft out of the 2 items after melting the bar, then leave them on the ground by her camper, or maybe her vehicle. I'm also planning to purchase small little plastic penises and drop on the ground here and there by her camper. Also fart spray, possibly on her jacket or folding chair. Definitely a fake turd. Not sure how I will use that one yet. It's going to be amazing. She's the most uptight, cold Christian woman I've ever met. She'll be mortified. Apartment manager did not clean before move-in. I got back at them when I moved out. This was many years ago, when I was young and single. I rented a fairly expensive apartment in a nice neighborhood. I took the day off to move because I had to vacate my current place. I arrive. The apartment has not been cleaned. It was gross. Hair in the bathroom, dust everywhere, filthy fixtures, dirty fridge and stove. But because I had to move in. The state I live in requires landlords do a walkthrough noting previous damage. Without this paperwork, they cannot sue for damage and must return the deposit when I move out. No one came to do the walkthrough. 2 years later, and a whole lot of drama. I moved out, while working 60-hour work weeks. I left the place a dump, rotten food in the fridge, filthy carpet. I had done no housework for months due to my work. My family kept asking me if I needed help cleaning out the apartment. I said nope. My entire deposit was returned to me a few weeks later. Hope they had fun cleaning it. Yard sale drama. I'm a big fan of yard sales and go to them every weekend. Recently, I went to one and made a pile of stuff that I was planning to buy and came to agreement on price. I asked the seller if it was okay if I left the pile of stuff off to a separate corner so that I could shop around some more to add to the pile to buy. He said that was fine and suggested that he could bundle in more stuff with whatever else I find. In the yard sale world, you don't touch someone else's pile. While I was shopping, which was within 5 minutes of talking to the seller, someone else asked the seller about the stuff, and the seller allowed the buyer to purchase my pile of stuff. I get back and ask the seller where the pile was, and he says he already sold it to someone else. I reminded the seller that it was my pile, and he had already agreed to let me buy the stuff after I shopped around some more. He shrugged, laughed, and said it wasn't his problem. I put the other items I was planning to buy back and drove away back towards the road. At the end of his driveway, I tore down all of his yard sale signs. His driveway is very long, and it's impossible to see the sale from the road, so he will have less/no buyers. Welcomed. For context, my family had been flying one Palestinian flag prior to this. Then this morning we got this letter, and my neighbors, who we are close to, received the one in the second photo. They came and showed it to us. We wanted to have this on record, so we called the non-emergency cops, and they sent someone down. He said our house is now an arson risk, so it will be on file. We have since added 2 more flags, a plastic keffiyeh on the mailbox, and a Free Palestine sign. We will also be adding mini flags lining the yard, and when it stops raining, plenty of sidewalk chalk. It may be relevant that my neighbor is clearly a veteran. This may explain why they sent it to him. We are close as well, but I'm not sure how they would know that. They also mailed it without a return address, as stated in the second letter. Also, I never had an American flag for me to put under another flag, so I'm not sure what they mean. Letter sent to me. Dear neighbor, we noticed you were displaying the Palestinian flag on your house. I understand supporting your mother country, but I don't understand why you would display a foreign government's flag in the country you were welcomed into. I am assuming and is my hope that you are supporting the Palestinian people and not the terrorists. I am curious as to how you would be treated in Palestine if you were to display a United States of America flag on the front of your house. Of course, that's a rhetorical question because we know what would happen. The United States has offered you freedom to express yourself without reprisal, a great living, has given you the ability to work and live in an upscale neighborhood, in an upscale house, and raise your children in peace and without fear. You have the freedom in our country to practice your religion and are able to criticize our government without fear. Can you do that in yours? Are Christians allowed to openly practice their religion in Palestine? There are others that display 2 flags on occasion, but the proper way is to never put another country's flag above the American flag and to always display the U.S. flag with the proper reverence to the country you live in. If your allegiance is to another country, then it would behoove you to go there and fight the good fight instead of hiding behind the country that you have called your home for years and its protections. It's incredibly disrespectful to display another country's flag alone, and particularly disrespectful to our veterans that have fought and died for your right to disrespect them by flying another country's flag. It is our hope that you correct this slap in our faces, as it is very hurtful to patriotic Americans. It would be like burning your country's flag or burning the Quran on your doorstep. We are a very tolerant people, but there's a difference between tolerance and abuse, whether it be direct or implied. Of course, the choice is yours, but some sensitivity would be appreciated for the country that has provided you with freedom, protection, and prosperity. Flag protocol. Avoid displaying any other flag higher than the U.S. flag. Keep the U.S. flag at the same height as other international flags. Display higher than state, city, or organizational flags. The highest point is the place of honor, so be careful not to display another flag in this position within the U.S. Flying another flag higher than the U.S. flag is considered disrespectful. America first. Letter sent to my neighbor. Dear Earth family, I am enclosing the letter that I mailed to your next-door neighbor who is flying the Palestinian flag. I'm sure that in addition to it being very disrespectful and hurtful, that it is beyond infuriating to you, as it is to us. We were walking by the other day and saw the flag and were incensed beyond description. Unfortunately, our society has become so tolerant of not only with immorality and abnormality, but this anti-American behavior is where I draw the line. There is not anything that we can do about it, but I felt it necessary to address this. Obviously, I am doing this anonymously since we live in an upside-down world, and I would be the one that would suffer repercussions in calling out ungrateful, insensitive, and inconsiderate immigrants. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Hope this gives you some satisfaction. God bless America.